We're going to be drawing this Rowlet, and it's kind of an owl. So what we're gonna go ahead and do first is you want to draw kind of like a very big circle, not like a full circle, but kind of like a very big circle going around your entire canvas. Um, starting from the top, going all the way down. And what's gonna happen now that we have the circle in there, you have to make sure it's filling almost the entire canvas. We're gonna cut it down here, so we have kind of like a huge semicircle like that. But at the same time, we're gonna go ahead in the middle of it and separate it into two different areas. So in this upper area here is where we're gonna draw the eyes. So for the eyes, we're gonna draw two huge, because it's like an owl. It's a Rowlet. Rowlet is kind of like a Pokemon that is derived from an owl. So cute, kawaii, beautiful. So we're gonna draw two circles, but we have to make sure that they uh intersect each other, so they go through each other. And we're gonna draw this one on this side. Now look at the space in here and the space in here. You leave smaller space on the left, just like you see in the reference image, and more space on the on his left or our right. So now we have the eyes in the middle. Here is where the head is gonna be. So if one of the circles start from here and goes this way, and then it joins on the other, it goes down here, does the same thing. So you stay with this middle part is where we're gonna draw his mouth. So we're gonna go ahead in here and kind of round off his mouth like this. Cut it into two on the lower end. This is longer than this. And put a little bit of that in there. Erase. I'm going to delete this just so I can see exactly what I'm doing. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in the eyeballs here. So the first eyeball is gonna go on this side, and the second eyeball is gonna go on this side around there. And we're almost there, guys. So we're doing a great job mapping out our character. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna draw his bow tie. So we're gonna make sure it's in the middle here. Almost now to this one, you're gonna look up where the eyes touch each other. I'm gonna draw a little line in there to show me where I should be drawing the bow tie. So I'm gonna go with this and bring it out. It's almost ending like where the eyeball ends before the end of the eye. So I'm gonna bring this in all the way, and I'm gonna draw the other side of it, still using kind of the same principle. I'm gonna make it pointed this way and bring it in to close it off. So they're repeating this pattern for the eye. They're repeating it also for the bow tie, and they have a little something going in there to show it's like a flower kind of leaf. So with this, we're gonna cut off this way to do his wings. And this is a Pokemon that I caught earlier on in Pokemon Go. So if you're watching this video, on the other end you could see that it has a drawing or the gameplay of me actually catching this Pokemon and evolving him all the same day. So these ones are actually small. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and erase this one. Let me make my erase a little bit bigger. So I'm going to remove that one. I drawn it very small. So I want to make sure they're kind of huge like this. And that goes up, and the next one flows off of it, and it cuts across like right here where it meets the line. And there is a little third one in there too that goes up, which we'll be able to see when we delete some of these lines when we're making the sketch a little bit more vivid. But we're gonna go ahead and round that off on that side, and on this other side we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna bring the big one, the inner one, which is rounded on the bottom, to cut across, meet our bow tie like that. And the other one, oops, that's an eraser. So the other one is just gonna pin off of that, and we'll go down this way to close off his jacket. So the other thing now that I've realized when I was drawing that is that these are kind of rounded off a little bit like this. They're kind of rounded off a little bit. So don't be afraid when you see a little bit of something that you need to improve in your artwork while you go by. You have to literally rectify that mistake right away. You have to delete it and go ahead and correct it right away. So now I've corrected that. It's more rounded, and now we could give him the bottom part here where his legs start from. Still they're repeating this same pattern here. We're gonna go ahead and round off the left leg, which is our right hand, and we're gonna go ahead and round off this other side too, like this. So our Rowlet is now coming to life in the sketch, and the leg, his right foot starts in here and it goes out, and it goes out here as well, like so. So that one is good, almost good. And remember, in the first instance here, when you're drawing, it's just a sketch, so no line is written in stone at this point. Any lines could be changed, they could be changed, they could be manipulated around, and so on and so forth. But now the good thing is that we have kind of the initial sketch here of our Rowlet. So now usually what I do, I don't know if you guys are drawing on an iPad or a tablet or something like that, but I'm drawing on an iPad. So what I usually do is I knock down the opacity of this layer. I knock it down a little bit, and I usually go and put another layer on top of it. And now I make my pencil a little bit bigger, and I'm going to make a more vivid sketch now. So now the lines, I want to define where I want kind of the lines to go for the real sketch now. So you can see the sketches for, the lines for the initial sketch are in there, and they are not as rounded or vivid as they're supposed to be, as these other ones are. So in this new one, you're supposed to make it feel a lot more like where the lines are supposed to be. And thank God for Procreate is that we don't need a ruler for this. You could just put your line, make sure you hold the pencil on while the line is still on, and the software will give you a line that is more vivid. It will give you a perfect line for that. Oh, that's not good. This one is kind of an oval. It's the same way you draw circles or ovals. You round it off, but you don't take your pencil off. So you leave your pencil on for about 3 seconds, and it will make for you a beautiful oval, a beautiful circle. So now we're trying to make our Rowlet look even better. We're trying to make him look even better by creating a more vivid sketch that we're gonna go off when it's time to ink the work, and also when it's time for us to start coloring in. Now we're gonna go off of this. Now if you're new to this channel, this is the time I'm begging you, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and also like this video. It's very, very important that you like this video, because it will help me actually tell YouTube that you actually like these tutorials, and it will help me to make more for you guys. But you could go ahead and like this video now, and also go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment section below what you think about these, and if you think we should do more of these. So there we go, there we got that. Now our sketch is starting to look even more interesting and more vivid. So I'm gonna go down here, and I'm gonna draw his leg coming out like that, and this other one rounded off a little bit. No, that one does not look very good. So sometimes you have to draw a line 2 or 3 times in order for you to get it right, or to get it where satisfactory where you want. So it's all a game of trusting and trying. But his foot is almost done. And after this, I'm gonna show you what I do, because I usually go through uh, different steps when I'm drawing these, or when I'm drawing any character. So this right here you're witnessing is my drawing procedure and everything that I draw. So now that we've finished with that one, I go ahead and knock that one down a little bit more too. And now it's time to actually change and bring in a different pen. So usually here I use inking and I use a technical pen. So we're gonna use a technical pen for this. And let me see what layer we're on. You want to make sure you're on the right layer. Oh, by the way, you can also rename these if you want to. You can always rename them, or you could, you could do a lot with them. If you tap in it and you leave your finger on long enough, it'll bring all these other options that you could do. So you could go ahead and rename that if you want. So you could say ink layer, and that's always good for you to know what layer has what. But now we have our technical pen. I'm going to go ahead and increase it a little bit to 11. And I'm going to go ahead now. Remember, when we were drawing the second sketch, it actually helped us to know where to start our lines, and where it's actually going to round off really nice. So it was a good idea for us to do almost the same process at the beginning of this, when we were doing in the second sketch. That's a horrible line I just did over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean that up a little bit. You're going to realize that you don't even need to be very, very good at drawing when it comes to these. You can always, Procreate helps you out a little bit, smoothing your work out. It will always help you smooth your work out a little bit. You just have to know the concept and, have the principles of art in your head, and everything else will just flow naturally and beautifully. So now, usually what happens is when I draw the ink layer, if I am working on a coloring page, then I stop at that level. And the next one, I just export the image the way it is in order for me to use in the coloring book. If I am creating a coloring page, this level we are on is usually the last level that I draw and create an image that I'm going to be using as a coloring page. If you haven't seen any of my coloring books, I wonder what kind of rock you've been living under. Never mind, I'm kidding. But yeah, if you want to check out some of my coloring books, they are all on Amazon. I'm gonna leave a link to some of them in the description below, and you could just go ahead and buy any of them. I have coloring books as low as $2. I have coloring books as high as $10. So either way, you can help me, support me with those. So this one is going to give us a very good curvature of the eye. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the eyeball in there. Now I'm going to show you a trick, guys, that is really going to be very good. That when you're starting to draw, when you're starting to color your images in, when you're starting to paint your character, for this specific tutorial is going to be this Rowlet. But you have the reference image like you see it over here, because Procreate allows you to actually have a reference image on the screen while you draw, so you can just keep gazing at it while you draw. I'm going to show you another trick that is actually really good, that you don't have to think that much about the color palette when you start coloring your character. It's so easy, and you'll just be able to get the same exact perfect color like your reference image without you running around to get the palette for it. So Procreate every single day makes work a lot easier, and they know exactly what we want, and they go out and help us achieve it. So that trick, when I show you, which is coming up next, now that we have the ink almost done, let me finish up with this fit. And at this point, it's all the same kind of work that is happening. Just go ahead and draw the line and hold it down for a few seconds until it snaps into place. So smoothing is pretty good. The other program that I usually use when I'm drawing is Sketchbook Pro. Now, Sketchbook Pro works a little bit different. It does not do this. It does not let you just hold the line until it snaps into place. For it, you just literally have to activate smoothing. So now that we have the now that we have that in there, the ink. So I'm gonna go to painting, and I usually love this brush called Tamar. It's what I usually use when I'm painting all my characters. So you can see what happened here. I went between the I went underneath the ink layer, and created a new layer where I'm actually now going to start putting in my inks and everything. Oh, usually what I do instead of this, you could either do this and then make the ink layer a reference. So when you throw in your colors, they're actually governed and controlled by this ink layer. Or what you want to do, which is what I do most of the times, I'm going to delete this. I usually duplicate this, right? So I usually just go slide it and say duplicate and go on the one underneath the top one. So you have two ink layers now. What is going to go ahead and happen, this is the trick that I was talking about. You take your finger and you put it on your reference image, and you leave it on for a little bit until the color picker comes up, and that way it will give you the color that you actually want to use for that specific part. You see that? You don't need to go around running around um for the color scheme of the character that you're trying to create when you actually have a reference image like this. So this is why it's actually good to have the reference image on your screen, so you could just go ahead and tap on that color and you just drop it in. Tap the color, and this is why it takes me literally very few minutes in order for me to actually paint my characters out, because look at that, now I already have the color flats down. um Now I already have the color flats down, so now I just have to give them a little bit of texture, and making sure that they actually are on point, or the character actually looks like my reference image for a little bit there. So what's gonna go ahead and happen, I'm gonna go ahead and choose this one for his beak, and I'll drop that one in as well. The eyes, I'm gonna do the same exact thing. Color pick, drop the color in, drop the color in. And now it's time for us to actually have the painting in there. Go ahead. So I'm gonna go ahead and also choose that layer, and I'm going to alpha lock it. So whenever I'm drawing anything on it, it doesn't draw outside the character, it just draws right inside the character, and that's how you do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose this color here for the highlights on the fit, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint those in real quick with my Tamara brush. That way your work will be a lot faster and a lot easier. And this one, guys, you're getting fast hand on how I actually do my work. So if you're drawing along, you're learning how I do my work, and how I'm able to, you know, do work a lot faster. So I'm putting in highlights and a little bit of textures in there in order to make it look um, a lot more like the character that we're trying to paint right now. So he and his beak. Now, oh, 1 second, I gotta grab, and you can zoom in even on your reference in order, if you actually want to grab that specific area. For example, here in his beak, he has a little bit of a highlight there that I just zoomed into for me to be able to get. The other thing that I usually do is I usually put shadows and highlights on my character in order for me to make it look even more cute. So at this point, I'm gonna first of all put these ones in his bow tie, and then after that, I'm gonna show you guys how to add. Oops, that's big. That's very big. I'm gonna show you how to add highlights on your character that are even more beautiful to make your character look well-rounded, well-rounded and 3D. So that is perfect right there. There's a little bit of a dark green in here in his bow tie, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up too with the color picker, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint that in here with my brush. My brush seems to be very big, so I want it a little bit smaller so I can be able to paint those in as well. That looks good. I want to smoothen it out a little bit, like so. Make it look even more interesting. So what's gonna go ahead and happen now? We're gonna go ahead and draw the highlights and also draw the shadows in order for us to make it look even more cute or look a lot more like our reference. So what is gonna go ahead and happen? I'm gonna go ahead over here and I'm going to put a layer above the second ink layer, and just to be sure, let me make sure I have the black color, total black, and I'm gonna go ahead and make my brush a little bit bigger. And now um, I'm going to draw with the black color, but at the same time I'm going to reduce and play with the opacity until I get it good enough for me on my shadow area. So what's gonna go ahead and happen, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna cut across, because this is where the shadow cuts across on the character, on the reference image. So I need this entire thing to be one color right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint that in. So what I love about this Tamar brush is that sometimes it gives me texture without uh, me even lifting it to paint twice or something like that. So I like a little bit of a texture in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and paint over, not lifting my brush again because this is painting in Procreate. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint over that again. And don't worry, because you're using a dark color. What is gonna go ahead and happen when we start playing with the opacity for this layer, you will see the shadows come to life. But for now, don't worry about them being too dark. So just go ahead and fill it in all the way you want, and what kind of texture you actually want for it to exhibit in your drawing. A little bit of it is going out of where it's supposed to be, but that's actually okay. I'll go ahead and erase that. So I'm going to go ahead and smoothen it out a little bit as well, because the texture was coming through too much. So I just want it a little bit smoother than it was. And this is where now your artist eye comes in. So you don't have to do it exactly the way I'm doing it, but you can do it just to satisfy what kind of form you were going for with your character. And I do this not just for the Pokemon, I do it for all my work. For all my work, I do it this way. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit more. Delete those ones that are going outside of the character. I'm going to bring this one up a little bit more too. Delete those that are going outside the character as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and reduce the opacity for this layer. Knock it all the way down so it looks like more of a shadow than a paint on there. And I think that's actually really cute. I like it. But I'm gonna bring my my eraser and take this one out over here. Take this one out over here in the bow tie. And this is all from looking at the reference image. I want to get it as close to my reference image as possible, which is always the goal, to be able to redraw what you actually are looking at. It helps a lot in art development. So that looks pretty good. Let me see if I actually continue knocking it down even a little bit more. That looks pretty good. I like that. So what's going to go ahead and happen, I'm going to do the same thing for his mouth. Now that I have the opacity where I want it, I'm just going to go ahead in his mouth and I'll just include that. Include that in there a little bit. Cut it off a little bit so it's not very pronounced. Now I'm going to hide this layer here. And I have just the ink layers and the paint layers. I'm going to go ahead and add another one, because now there's two kinds of shadows. There's a shadow inside the eyes. It's not very visible, but there's a little bit of a shadow inside the eyes. And I'm going to go ahead and put that. But this one is going to be the opacity is going to be way, way, way down low. So that's what I do for both the highlights and the shadows. I kind of use the same concept. And the highlights, of course, is opposite to the shadows. So the highlights, you're going to use a white or a light color for the highlights. But it's all the same concept. Unfortunately, this character does not need that. So wherever we have highlights, we'll just take a little bit of white and put those highlights there. So now you can see the characters coming to life according to our reference image. So now I'm going to work on the eyes for a little bit. I see a color in there, a grayish color that I need to pick. And I'll bring my brush. And for this one, I'm going to go on this layer right here, the ink layer, the second ink layer. Oops, that's too big. And that's where I'm going to put my kind of gray in the eyes to make it look even more alive. A Rowlet. This is the name of this Pokemon. It's called a Rowlet. Very beautiful kawaii Pokemon. I'm gonna brush on them to be a little bit more lighter, especially the one on the left side. That looks like it's giving me exactly what I'm looking for. And that's it, guys. That's how you draw that. Pretty interesting, pretty cool. And that's how you draw this Rowlet Pokemon. But it's the same kind of steps that I use to draw all my work, all my characters and everything. I draw them that way. It's kind of the same principle that I use when I'm creating my artwork. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you guys liked this one, and I hope to see you again in the next video where we are going to be drawing an evolution of this guy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye bye for now.